Thank you very much indeed, Past President Clive and Sergeant at Arms. And I will open the meeting in the traditional way by ringing our bell. That's to call everybody's attention. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot of visitors today, and I'm going to delegate the role of welcoming some of them to Past President Louis Hui. Louis, are you able to welcome our visitors from Hong Kong, please?
Very much so, President David. Thank you for that. It gives me enormous pleasure to welcome all of our participants this week on your behalf. It's good to see so many past presidents and members of our club present, and it's always a joy to welcome those familiar faces at our meetings. But today is particularly special thanks to Candy's efforts. We have an entourage of Rotarians from Hong Kong joining this meeting, represented by 13 different local clubs, along with their district governor, Dr. Eric Chuck, led by the president of Smart Hong Kong Club, Stephen Chung. My understanding is that some of them are present physically at their local meeting, and many have joined via Zoom. A most warm welcome to all of our guests and visitors, including, of course, our distinguished speaker, Professor Isaac Ben Israel. We hope you all enjoy this meeting. Most of our visitors know that the Rotary Club of London is the oldest and the largest club in the UK, but not all will know that we are, in fact, the first club to be chartered outside North America, the mother club of all clubs in the UK. Because of this history, it gives us the privilege to get regular visits from Rotarians around the world. And today we are extremely lucky to be welcoming 30 Rotarians and guests from Hong Kong. May I now invite the president of the Hong Kong Smart Club, Stephen, to introduce the delegation and your district governor, and our president will be delighted to receive your banner. President Stephen, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone from UK. Hi, P. David.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, actually, thanks for PP Candy. Have this arrangement today. We have a first joint meeting with the UK Rotary Club of London. Okay, so compared with Rotary Club of London, we are really, as DJ Eric just mentioned, we are a baby club in Hong Kong because we're just a 4-year-old club. It's a very young club in Hong Kong. So today we are very honored to have our DJ Eric to join us physically in today's meeting, and also with many guests from the district and also different clubs. So please allow me to share the screen, and I would like to, because I can't read out everyone's name, so I would like to have the screen sharing. Okay.
Yes, it's allowed to.
Okay.
Yes, we've got your screen, Stephen.
Cool. Well, okay, so I would like to introduce our DJ Eric here today. And also from district, we have AG Esther, also our area, AG Esther. And AG Raphael from RC Wan Chai, and our DS Alexander Zheng, and DAG Elfin, and also many Ps and IPP, PP joining us today from the different clubs. So welcome them, and also some of our guests from our club, like Edward Chiu online, and Sydney, and also Colin. Okay, welcome everyone tonight, and good evening. So without further ado, I would like to pass the speech to our DJ Eric. Will say some words for this joint meeting. Okay, DJ Eric. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, President Stephen, President David, fellow Rotarians.
But we need to unshare the screen. We need to ensure. We need to unshare the screen first.
Okay. Unshare, please.
Stephen, if you'd be kind enough to stop. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, Eric. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. President David, fellow Rotarians from Rotary Club of London and Smart Hong Kong, and also I know that there are Rotarians from US and Nigeria too. Good afternoon and good evening, and also Rotarians from Hong Kong. My warmest greeting to all of you in London, US, and Nigeria. It's my pleasure to attend the joint club meeting of Rotary Club of London and Smart Hong Kong today. London is a special place for me. During my time in UK in summer, I always enjoy visiting the museums and watching plays. As Louis mentioned, Rotary Club of London is a club with legacy. It was the first club to form outside North America in 1911. Since then, Rotary Club of London have been improving and caring for the needy in the world. I would like to introduce District 3450. We comprises of Hong Kong, Macau, Mongolia, and Guangdong province. We have total 106 clubs and 2,700 members. Due to the pandemic, Rotarians are now having a campaign to promote vaccination. We are planning to start a project to help countries to purchase vaccines too. With the outbreak of the pandemic, we have adapted quickly. Many clubs have online meetings and events. We are so happy to see our Rotarians, even though it is online, just like today. Today, we are excited to meet Rotarians in London, US, and Nigeria. It would be a nice opportunity to build a good relationship with the two clubs and even the two districts. I'm sure with the help from PP Candinew, who recently joined a Rotary Club of London, we can have more collaboration in the future. And thank you for having all of us today.
Thank you. Thank you for that. President Eric, do you have
District Governor Eric.
something to? Sorry, District Governor. President Stephen, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, District Governor Eric, for your kind words. Fully appreciated here in London. And I was uncertain whether to hand back to past President Louis or to ask myself whether you had any banners to give us, President Stephen.
Oh, yes. We have this banner, you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This.
I had in mind this thing that I've magically received from you today, which is the banner of the Rotary Club of Smart Hong Kong, for which I thank you very much indeed, and we will keep with pleasure amongst our mementos of connection.
Okay. So, Peter, can we have yours?
Would you please receive one from me if I give one to you now?
Okay. Can you see it?
Oh goodness, magic! Yes, well done. Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
We can see it.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Yes.
Thank you very much for that, and we look forward hopefully to having some communication with you after our towards the end of our meeting.
Sure.
I'd now like to continue with the business of the club, and in particular to ask our honorary secretary, Shikako, to make an announcement. Shikako.
Thank you, President David. Good afternoon, members and guests, and a good evening, fellow Rotarian from Hong Kong today. I have one announcement regarding the election for the council. The president already mentioned in his newsletter on Sunday. We have 11 candidates for 5 vacancies. Some of them you already know, and some are new to this club. So last week, all candidates submitted their statement and their photos. thank you so much to all candidates for the participation. I will circulate the document by email to all members, so all of us briefly know about them. However, if you have any trouble receiving a digital document and then wish to have a hard copy of the statement, please let me know by email. Also, the ballot paper will be sent out this week by post. Please return it by the deadline on the ballot paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's a hard choice for our members to make between the excellent candidates we have, but I'm asking you to do so with proper consideration. I'd now like to ask if we have our chairman of the Youth Services Committee present, and if Robert has an announcement to make. Robert, I can't just see you on my screen.
That's all right. I can see you.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I'm absolutely pleased and delighted to inform you and our friends that Interact Club has come into the formation. And I think, sort of everything sorted out in accordance to the rules. We had a meeting Friday afternoon with a member of the youth service. I invited District Officer Youth Shugra to attend, and President-elect Ian was there as well. We went through all the necessary points in respect of the Interact Club. It was discussion about the budget, which £500 has been given kindly. We appreciate, and as well the District Officer Shugra informed us that she has got many PIN, which is said Interact Club, to give to the member of that school's Interact Club. As well, there was a discussion about some of the projects, and the Duchess' son have introduced us. Prior to that, this is the list of the officer, which is 12 of them at the St. Michael School. So more or less, I have to say, and there was a discussion about the project, I have to say everything was sorted out. The form, which was signed by Chicago and yourself, have been forwarded to RI and RIBI, and hopefully we receive a confirmation from District Governor this week. Once all these things sorted out, then I'm sure Honorable Secretary Chicago will organize a meeting with the headmaster and the officer of that Interact Club to go through the induction. That was the final thing to do. Once the induction has gone through, then they can start doing or organizing some of their projects. Considering this year, it has been difficult, and school are getting close to exams, and many of them have difficult situation. We shouldn't expect very much the project to be carried out. Whatever they can and they will should be applauded. Let's hope that next year or earlier on, we could attempt or attend to or try to get another Interact Club in central area, which is an important issue to us. American School, one of the officers is promised to organize an Interact Club there, but not this year, possibly next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert, Chairman of the Youth. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
I wanted just to add if Chicago would like to add anything or say anything.
I think I'd like to move on.
Yes, Nothing to add.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. I'd like to move on, and we look forward to the charter meeting of the new Interact Club of the Rotary Club of London, which has been an important project that you've been carrying out in such difficult circumstances this year. Thank you very much for your report, Robert. I'd now like to move on to the main event, which is the talk. But before I do that, I will ask you all to raise a glass to toast our first toast of the luncheon, which is the toast to the Queen. So those of you that are able and willing to raise a glass and toast the Queen.
Yeah.
Thank you. I now call upon the chairman of our communications committee, Candy Liu, to introduce our speaker.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, P. David. So it is our honor today to have such a distinguished guest, Professor Isaac Ben Israel, to talk on a topic from cyber era to artificial intelligence. Professor Ben Israel graduated from Tel Aviv University with degrees in mathematics, physics, and philosophy, earning his PhD in 1988. A retired Major General in the Israel Air Force, Professor Ben Israel has served as the head of military R&D of Israel Defense Force and the Ministry of Defense. He is a recipient of the Israel Defense Award twice and the Israel Air Force Award, and was a member of LISET from 2007 to 2009. He is the chairman of Israeli Space Agency at the Ministry of Science, Technology, and the Space, and head of Biolect Cyber Research Center and the Yuval Lehman Workshop for Science, Technology, and Security at Tel Aviv University. In 2010, he was appointed by Israel Prime Minister to lead a task force that submit a government plan to make Israel today become a major in cybersecurity. In 2018, he was appointed again by the Prime Minister to lead the next resolution in Israel, Secure Artificial Intelligence. I pass to you, Professor Ben Israel.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me. I will speak about cybersecurity, and I wonder where to start with. Usually, people start with the first prototype of computer that the first prototype was introduced in 1946. That is 70 years ago, something like this, in the United States. I will talk about it later. And actually, it was one more product in what we are already accustomed to in this industrial age. But eventually, it symbolized somehow the end of the industrial age and the opening of a new age, which we now call information age. So perhaps I'll go back to the industrial. I thought to myself, perhaps I'll go back to the industrial revolution, which started some 200 years ago. And when I say revolution, I don't mean a revolution in a certain limited area of our lives, because we have thousands and thousands of revolutions like this. I mean revolution in all our fields of life, in economy, defense, literature, art, you name it, everything. The Industrial Revolution, in this sense, was the second big revolution in our life, which the first one was the agricultural revolution some 13,000 years ago. So for thousands of years, we lived in agricultural culture, I would say, until 200 years ago. And then one of the products of this industrial revolution, the computer, started a new revolution by itself, the information age. It changes all our life because of many things. First of all, economy, which is something very important to human life. Economy, which was based on land and water and things like this in the agriculture, agricultural age, and later on in industry, on the industrial age. Now is based on information. I mean, if you look at the list of the most wealthiest men in the world, you find them many people like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, etc., which of course are not farmers, neither industrialists. They don't have big production lines or something like this. They sell us a license in a way to process and use information in the technology that they develop, something like this. And technology is something different from agricultural products or industrial products, in the sense that you can sell them again and again and again and still have it. I mean, it's not something that once you sold it, you cannot use it anymore. It's different in its very philosophical sense, and therefore our life looks today as they look. Now, I said that the first computer was introduced in 1946 after the Second World War. It was based on ideas of Alan Turing. I think everyone knows it today. Alan Turing was then a student in the 1930s, a student at Cambridge for mathematics. He thought about a very simple problem. Can we build a machine that will be capable of calculating? Calculating, he meant simple arithmetic. Numbers and the four basic operations, adding and subtracting, multiplication and division. That's all. And the idea was very simple. We can teach young kids how to do it in a mechanical way. There are rules. And if we can teach young people how to do it, it sounds reasonable that we can build machines that will do it. And calculating machines. And the idea attracted, one of the person who really was impressed by it was John von Neumann. It was the 30s between the two wars. And von Neumann, who was a Jewish mathematician, fled away from Europe to the US, became a member of a special institute that was built for Einstein, who fled before him in New Jersey, in Princeton University. And he invited Alan Turing there to give lectures and to discuss, to be a guest of this institute. And they discussed together the ideas of those computers, or calculating machines, as they called it at that time. And then the war broke up, and they had no time to deal with nonsense like calculating machines. Turing went back to England and and played a key role in breaking the Enigma, the encryption machine of the German Nazis. Von Neumann was the chief mathematician of Manhattan Project. This is the project that built from zero the first atomic bomb in the US. So they didn't have time to play with ideas like computers. But immediately after the war, they tried to build machines, not only dealing with the mathematics of it, because everything Turing did until that day was only proving theorems in mathematics that it is possible. And von Neumann won in this race. And the first computer, ENIAC, it was called ENIAC, electronic numeric integrating and calculating, something like this, machine. Until today, computer scientists, they don't say many times computers, they call it Turing machines, after Turing, who came with the idea. Now, the machine that von Neumann built was huge. It occupied few big halls, but it could do something that no one of us can do. It could multiply something like more than 10,000, 16,000 numbers in a second. Now, each one of us, if I'll ask you to multiply one-digit numbers one by one, we can do it, I don't know, 2 in a second if we are really fast. Some genius can do 5 multiplications in a second. 16,000 of what we call cybersecurity. The bad news is that the more developed is computer technology, and I spoke until now only about computers, the more developed it is, the more weak points we create and more opportunities for bad guys to harm us. Because once computer shrinks in size and grow in power, we apply them to many areas which we didn't think even to apply them 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or 30 years ago. But we become dependent on these applications. And if someone will find a way to hack into these computers and do something not for the sake of rebuild it in order to make our life more efficient, better, etc. But if someone will hack into this computer and use it for his own interest or something like this, this is what we call cyber attack. And cyber is a different name for computer, a Greek name. There was no computers during some 2,000 years ago in Greece, but we use the Greek name because this was, in Greek, cyber means to navigate or to control something. And today, all these functions are done by computers, and therefore we use this name. But the main lesson here is that cyber attack really is the dark side of computer technology. And this is like the moon. I mean, we all enjoy the bright side. We have to know there is always a dark side, and this happens with everything we do. And this is, the more we will develop computers, and I'll tell you about few developments, especially around the idea of artificial intelligence, the more we will develop it, the bigger will be the problem of cyber attack. And today, this pandemic is, I think, the absolute proof that what can people do with computers, including computerized communication, like we do now. This is a live proof of the power of computers. I sit here, some of you sit in Britain, some of you sit in Hong Kong. We all see each other, talk with each other. Fortunately enough, we don't speak any secrets, so we are not afraid that some hacker will listen to us without permission and use it against us. But it can be done. Now, it was the same Alan Turing who really invented the mathematical idea of computer, although he didn't build it. Same Alan Turing that in the 1952, after computers were already built, and the concept was not a dream, but something concrete, wrote another paper in which he asked, the title was, can machines be intelligent? Not can machines calculate, this was the original one in the 30s, but can machines be intelligent? And this is a very difficult question. What do you mean by intelligent? Everything we do is based on certain information. Machines we already know good, when I say machines, I mean computers. Machines are good for storing information, delivering it to the other side of the world, processing it. Everything you can do with information. But taking all the information and deducing something out of it, is it mechanical action or is it intelligent? Depends on the context and depends on how much information you have and things like this. And when you ask yourself a question, can machine be also intelligent? You have to define what is intelligence. And believe me, no one ever succeeded in doing it. Turing himself, after thinking a lot about it, said intelligent is something which, this is my words, not his words, intelligent is something that we all agree that it is intelligent. He invented something that nowadays we call Turing test. And this is a test to judge if a certain behavior of a machine, human being, you name it, if a certain behavior is intelligent or not. And he said something like this. Let's say someone is coming today and said, I wrote a software and my computer with this software now is very intelligent. Of course, we speak about artificial intelligence. How do I know that it is intelligent? The test is very simple. We take a group of people, judges. They don't see who is talking with them. It's behind the screen. Otherwise, they will look and see that it is a computer, not a human being. They don't see. They communicate with their computers. They communicate with this machine or guy or God knows what, and asking questions, trying to fail him. And if the answers are satisfying and they will not be able to distinguish between the answers they got and the answers they got from human beings, some of the, the same answer will be sent also to human beings. If they will not be able to distinguish between the two, this is what we call intelligent. It is not a definition, of course. It's something very soft, but because we cannot define it. What cybersecurity, everyone, I was asked to give this talk about cybersecurity because everyone is talking about cybersecurity. Everyone is reading every day in the newspapers on this attack and that attack and ransomware, and every year or so, someone is inventing a new type of threat, which was not known 2 years before. This is not surprising at all. You already have to know that I've told it to you, but I'll put it now in a different words. One generation in computer life is a year and a half, because every year and a half we have twice a better computer. One generation is a year and a half. So everything in a year and a half, everything can happen. In human life, one generation is 30 years. And if I ask you, what will happen 100 years from now, that is 3 generations from now, no one will even dare giving me a serious answer. God knows what will happen 100 years from now in human life. But if we speak about computers, 3 generations is 5 years from now. And there's no way to predict what will happen 5 years from now. And therefore, we have every year or every few months a new type of threat that was not thought about. It's an idea that came to the mind of someone, usually a bad guy, to someone, and he applied it. And unlike new ideas in any other field of our life, in someone can come with new ideas of a new engine for cars, or don't know what. It will not take him 10 years, 15 years to develop it, to test it, to convince everyone to produce it, to build the production lines, etc., etc. it may appear in our computers in 3 months or 4 months later. That's all, because it's a different area. I mean, the rate of change of computer, therefore cyber technology, is too fast to be predicted, which pose a huge problem on those who are in charge of protecting us from cyber attacks. Because usually if you want to protect, let's take defense, okay? You want to protect UK from a military attack, you have to analyze who are your enemies, if there are, and then what are their capabilities and what are the possible scenarios that these enemies will open war against you, etc., etc., etc. And then you can choose what force to build in order to meet those threats. This is usually what people do in any area. I gave the example of defense, but it's done in every area. But if you speak about something that every few months is changing, until you finish thinking about it, it will be obsolete. It will not help you. And therefore, you have to find new ways of tackling new problems. And the main thing you can do, and it doesn't matter if it's in Israel or Britain or Hong Kong, the main thing you can do is, because I cannot predict what threats will appear, let's say, a year from now, the only thing I can do is to have the right people with the right knowledge that will understand the problem, the unpredicted problem, when it will appear a year from now. Okay, so I need a lot of people educated in what we call cyber security. And it's not enough. Once they will understand, let's say a year from now, a threat which is not predicted today will appear, and I have the right people, and they will immediately spot the problem and know what to do. Still, they will have to act very fast, unless it will be too late. And therefore, they need a lot of ideas that are, even if they are not finished, they are still at least half-baked, that they could choose from and take and apply them very fast in order to meet the problem. Therefore, you need a lot. In Israel, we call it startup companies. I mean, ideas that are not yet finished, they are working, a lot of startups like this, and the right people, and of course the right organization to connect everything to everything, and then you may survive. It will never be fully unpenetrable wall, something like this. You cannot do something in cybersecurity. Every time you do something, because of the nature of the problem that I described, at the end of the day, a new threat will emerge that will go through all the holes that you have in your, we don't call it wall in the professionals in cybersecurity, they call it firewall, okay? But the idea is the same, something that blocks the threat from coming in. Everyone, you have a good firewall, there will be some wise guys somewhere on the globe that will know how to penetrate, and therefore we have to change, and this is I would say, my second advice to you, we have to change our attitude towards cybersecurity and to treat it more like crime. I mean, we know that crime is a problem. We do a lot of things, everyone in his country and also internationally, to reduce the rate of crime, but we never think in terms of 0 and 1. We never think that it is even possible to lower the rate of crime to real 0. I mean, what we demand from our law enforcement forces, police, etc., we demand, including education, everything, we demand them not to eliminate crime, but to reduce it to a certain level which will enable us to continue the way of life that we would like to live. And we have to change our attitude also towards cybersecurity. This is not the global attitude today, and start treating it as a crime, even if part of it is not done by criminal groups, but by governments and ideological groups and things like that. Now, few words about AI, and then I will, the rest of the time, I'll be open to answer your questions. When we here in Israel, we introduced artificial intelligence technology at the beginning for securing our networks for cybersecurity. The idea was very simple. I mean, how do you secure the networks against cyber attacks? The simplest idea is something like this. You look at the network, let's say there are nodes, and a lot of bits are running from every node to another node. Now, I would like to take those traffic and to eliminate from the traffic the malware, the malignant software, what we call viruses, people usually call it in the media. Okay, I would like to be able to clean the system from viruses. How do I do it? The simplest and the classical way to do it is to take every series of bits, decode it, go to the level of content, and look at the content. If the content contains some virus, then I should do something against it. If it doesn't contain a virus, I should ignore it. But by doing it, I'm violating the privacy of people. I mean, every email that each one of you is sending to his friends, I have to take, to read it, and then decide if I ignore it or not. This is, of course, violating the privacy of people. And our idea, we started in 1915, applying it, was that we can put a machine, a computer, that will look at the trillions and trillions of bits running in the network, and then filter out certain series of bits because they look suspicious. I'll explain it in a minute. Because they behave in a suspicious. What do I mean by this? Without going to the content, because I don't want to violate the privacy of people. Without going to them, only by the behavior of the bits. Like, you know that, let's say, I don't know, police, London police, they would like to catch terrorists in the streets. There are two ways to do it. One, the more traditional one, and the main one is they collect intelligence and they know that this weekend, a group of 3 people, 2 of them are high, 1 is short, etc., etc. They have to look for them and to catch them. The other one is to ask people to look at the people and see if they behave suspiciously. The people who carry bombs usually don't behave like other people. Same here. The machine can learn what is the normal characteristics of the traffic, the whole traffic, without going to the level of content. Once a certain sequence of bits will behave in what we call anomalous way, then it could be filtered out and be checked separately without reading the whole private emails or messages from one person to another person. And for this, you have to teach the machine what is normal and what is not normal. How do you teach the machine? No one of us can define what is normal and what is not normal. This is something we learn. And then the idea, and this idea was put at the beginning by Alan Turing in '53. The idea is very simple. Don't use definitions, because many things that we talk about, we don't know how to define. But we still have meanings. I mean, those terms and words, etc., have meanings for us, which we learned when we were kids without definitions. For example, we look at the picture, we say, this is a dog, okay? How do we know, how our brain knows that this is a dog? My mother or my father, whoever told me to say the word dog, okay? They never told me the definition of a dog is 4 legs, 2 eyes. I don't know even what the definition is. They told me, you see, this is a dog, this is a dog, this is a dog. They told me by examples, by pointing at examples. And then my brain somehow looked at the thousands of examples that I saw in my life when I was a kid and found by itself what is common to everyone. Why not doing the same with computers? This was the idea. Let's take a computer, in this case, attach to it a video, show him a lot of pictures and telling him, this is a dog, this is not a dog, this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a dog. And then let the computer learn by itself, like we did when we were very young, what is a dog and what is not a dog, not by answering certain definition. And the idea was, as I told you, is with us from the 50s. Still, it was not applicable until some 10 years ago. Why? Because the power of computation was not enough. I mean, in order to translate whatever I've just described to you into mathematics and matrices and multiply them, etc., you need a huge power of computation. But meantime, from the 50s, every year and a half, you remember the power of computation is doubling every year and a half. So 10 years ago, it crossed the threshold and suddenly it became possible to use this machine learning, we call it, machine learning algorithms in computers, and to teach computers like we teach human beings. And therefore, AI, artificial intelligence, became a part of modern technology, and still it's another step in the development of computer technology. Okay, now we use this technology, AI. We started using it for cybersecurity, but the bad guys, they started to use it for cyber attacks, because they put machines on their side which learn, again, it's a machine learning, learn the way our machines are operating, our protecting machines are operating, and how to deceive our machines. And it will go like this, I think, forever until, well, I don't know if we will use computers forever, but as we use it, it will go like this without any stop. So today, these two digital technologies, cyber attacks and AI, became merged in a way, and there is no end to this. I can talk about many questions, so many topics about it, but I really would like to hear questions, and so I'll stop here. Although it's stop, I'll stop here and do my best answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Professor. And we could carry on listening, but we have our time constraints, as you know. And I'm sure there are many people who've got questions that they would like to ask. So I'd like to hand over now to our Sergeant-at-Arms, Clive, if he would be kind enough to host the questions. Clive?
Thank you, President David. If you would like to ask a question, can you please unmute yourself, because you'll come up on my list here. and then we will take them in order that they come up. I've had first. I'm going to go to, and let me just tell you where I'm going. Mo Ayers first, then Tim Waugh, and then Eve Conway. So Mo, would you like to address your question, please? And you will need to unmute yourself to address your question.
Yes, thank you, Clive. Shalom, Professor Isaac. I am a British, but with Pakistani heritage. And the fear that I've always had is that some cyber criminal could get in control of nuclear missiles and start a war off. So I was just wondering if there's any sort of international collaboration where even political enemies, so to speak, can work together to ensure something like this doesn't happen.
Well, this is a very good question. And of course, you know that before cyber technology was born, the same fear of some bad guys taking control of nuclear power, nuclear bombs, led the world to the detente and later on the disarmament and many international agreements that we still hold, which may not eliminate the whole problem, but still reduce it to a manageable level. We need, there is no question we need something like this in cyber. The problem is the world is not yet, the whole activity of the world in cyber technology is relatively very young. It was invented in the 50s, but was kept behind the secrecy of defense and intelligence services until 10 years ago. Only 10 years ago, it suddenly came out into the open. I said, it was done in Israel, by the way. We were the first country in the world which made it legitimate for economy, open university research, papers published openly, etc., etc. And I said that our contribution is taking it out of the closet. Okay, this is the contribution. But we need it. It's very difficult to be achieved.
Thank you. And Tim Waugh, please.
Professor, thank you very much. I found that fascinating. I just want to give a bit of my background. I was involved in procuring the NATO cyber defense systems in the early days in about 2006 and before that even. But I want a simple question. You're involved in national security. It's measure, countermeasure, as you mentioned. Do you actually see that we could get into a cyber war between nations?
In a certain sense, yes. We already had few events. When in 2009, 2008 or 9, I don't remember, when Russia attacked Georgia, they started the war by more or less paralyzing all the CQI systems, not only the military one, but also the civilian one in Georgia. The Russian would win without it anyway, because it's not fair play in a way. Still, we saw it happening, but I don't think, like many people think, and we saw isolated events like in Ukraine, when Russia wanted to deliver a message to the Ukrainians, they shut off only for 24 hours the western part of Ukraine. They shut off the electricity, done by cyber attack, not by bombs and something like this. So we saw there's already some beginnings of this phenomenon. Still, I don't think we will see a war that will be limited only to the cyberspace. If you look back on history, every time humanity invented a new way to kill people, it was only added to the previous ones. We still use knives, I don't want to speak about, I think. We have today nuclear bombs, and we have aircraft, and we have submarines, and we still use the old weapons, of course, with better characteristic and better but I don't think it will be limited to the virtual space of, if it will be, by the way, it will be for the benefit of humanity, because virtual is virtual, okay? But I don't think it will happen.
Thank you. And Eve Conway, please. Then Anthony Newton.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Professor. I mean, really excellent and a real insight into artificial intelligence. And my question, as it happens now, just follows on from the last one, really. You spoke about the bad guys, and, you know, people tend to think about criminals, criminal gangs, but obviously there's governments as well. And you just mentioned about what Russia has done in terms of Ukraine. Looking at the world today, what country do you think is the most threat, or is most threatening to the rest of the world in terms of its capability to cause cyber attacks or whatever they want to call it, really, and to disrupt the rest of the world? So, you know, is it Russia? Is it another country, or is it a group of countries? I mean, where is the threat? Where is the threat, according to your thoughts? Where is the worst threat coming from?
Well, as you know, threats are not a result of your capabilities. The other way around. Okay, once there is a problem, you or someone else is building his capabilities. You know that this is a very political question by nature. Still, if you ask me, what countries in the world are on, let's say, the first top 5 countries in the world that have the capability, not necessarily the model to use it, okay? I would say that among the top 5, I will count the big ones, first of all, that is US, Russia, China, and then I would say also UK and Israel. It doesn't mean that they will use it or that they have. Now, each one of them, by the way, is using its cyber capability for different missions or different goals. I'll give you an example, okay? China was not, until now, I mean, it can be changed because they have the capability, was not involved in any physical attack using cybersecurity. I'm speaking only about cyber technology, okay? They use, unlike other countries in this list, they use their cyber capability mainly to steal IP, to ideas and intellectual properties from Western, more developed countries. It's the same cyber capability. I mean, you need to hack into the computer, you need to do something to take back something, but the goal is not, for example, shutting off a power production or water supply. On the other hand, there are many smaller countries which are less developed in terms of cybersecurity, not in terms of size or real size, which are not so, do not have so intense capabilities, powerful capabilities, etc., and they use it more for aggressive goals. Like the one example I can give you is an attack of half a year ago that was done by Iran on the water supply system of Israel. The attack failed, but the goal of the attack was to shut off the water supply in Israel, which is something you didn't see neither Russia, nor the US, nor China using their capability for things like this. So everyone can choose whatever they do.
Thank you. Before we move to Anthony Newton, President David would just like to say something, please. President David.
Thank you, Clive. Am I on sound? Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you, Clive. I wondered if, following the reference to China, I wonder if there were any questions from our visitors from Hong Kong, and any particular angle that they would have to ask of Professor Isaac. Perhaps we think about that while Anthony is answering his question. Thank you.
Yes, Anthony Newton and then Harry Simmons. Thank you.
Anthony. Am I on? Am I?
Yes, we can hear you, Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. An outstanding talk. My question is nothing to do with geopolitical stuff at all. It's more on the level of human relations and artificial intelligence. Ishiguro, the laureate, has just written a brilliant book called Clara and the Sun, in which the fictional story is about the way artificial intelligence can totally take over and disrupt human relationships. And I wonder if you have any comments to make on that in the field of human relations.
Well, yeah, this is an entirely new subject. I mean, I didn't mention this aspect in my talk. People are worried usually people are worried by every revolutionary technology, even cars, okay? When cars were introduced in New York some 100 years ago, they had a rule that someone has to go before the car and warn the people. People are usually worried by revolutionary technology. Still, I think in the case of AI, many of the worries are not justified. First of all, we have to remember that before we had those machines, or before we have those machines, the artificial intelligence machines, we rely on human operation, which is not more reliable than those machines. I mean, people have a lot of faults, as we all know, and people can be manipulated. And the question is what people can do. They did a lot of bad things in our history that we remember without using computers, okay? I always tell my students that we already have intelligent machines. We ourselves. We are not made of silicon. It's not transistors and simple things like this, much more complicated biological material, but we are in a way machines unless you bring God into the picture, okay? And this is what we do all our life. I mean, learning how those machines are working and trying to improve them. And we rely on people. We rely on people taking decisions, we rely on people not to lie, and many times we fail, okay? And the same question now rise, but being diverted towards machine operations. The same questions. I'll give you another very simple example, okay? In order to cut the queues in the American justice system on bailing, you know, they bring a lot of people and the judge has some 30 seconds or 1 minute to decide to send you to jail until everything will be cleared, or to let you go, or to ask you to pay something to bailing, etc. As people say, why we need judges for this? We have some 100 years or so of written history, and that's all the parameters, teach the machine, and before they build it, and they created an AI software that decides what to do with those people arrested by the police, and then they found that the machine has prejudice. A lot of, I mean, if you are black, the probability of being sent to jail is higher. If you're a woman, it's lower. If you are, etc. And because the machine learned from human beings, And now all the defaults of human beings were copied into the machine. The machine learned from human beings. All the prejudice and all the, at the end of the day, they are no better than us, the machines. I mean, they will have to learn from something. And they are going to be the teachers. They will be no better than us. I hope we will improve, and therefore the machines will be improved in this sense. I mean, I'm speaking now about values and opinions and prejudice and these things, not processing data.
We hope the machines can help us.
Yeah. Okay, we have to move on very quickly because we're running out of time. Harry, if a quick question, please, then Inga,
right.
And then DG
Okay.
Eric.
Professor, Plan B, first of all, Hansomer, do you personally keep manual records in the event that everything goes wrong and there's no communications? And do you think that the weakness of G5 is a threat to all of us?
For the first question, I have computerized backups. I mean, not manual. I don't know what you call manual, but I have a few. I mean, I'm backing up my everything I gathered in the last 20, 30 years in hard disk and other computers, etc., including the cloud. For the second question, the G5, I think, is more political question than real threat, because it's very clear that we had G2 and G3 and G4, and now it's going to be G5 or 5G. And we are going towards better technology. The problem is that, generally speaking, the West were sleeping, and only China was developing this technology, let's say a few years ago. And now, if you speak about 5G, it means you have to purchase from China. And people, because of the other geopolitical problems in the world, don't want to be dependent on computers, which are on the heart of everything, computer communication, the heart of everything on China. But it's changing. It's already changing. I mean, few Western companies already understood it, started to develop the technology, and this problem will disappear.
Thank you. Can I now, and we have to be quick, we've actually got to 2 o'clock, and we do appreciate that it's the end time, but if people have to leave, we understand that. But if I can just take Inga's question, then DG Eric, and then Olivia, and that will have to be the end of the questions, I'm afraid. Inga, would you like to address your question, please?
Thank you very much. It might be a big question, but Itzik, how do you think kinetic warfare will be transformed by use of artificial intelligence in the future? For instance, with regard to use of unmanned weapon platforms. What is your viewpoint?
Well, in principle, of course, it could be transformed, but let me, instead of learned answer, let me remind you one story written by Asimov before the computer was invented, okay? And this is, I mean, this is a story about the world is in the whole world is in a state of war with some I don't remember the enemy, some planet out there, and everything is done by computers. I mean, we send our unmanned, intelligent spacecraft to space, and they send theirs, and each time one is I mean, it depends very much on the scientists and computer scientists of our side and their side. Each time we have a better version, we win, etc., etc., etc. And then someone comes with the idea that we put people on this spacecraft, and then Earth is winning the war. Something like this. I mean, I'm sure that autonomous systems, more autonomous systems, we already have many autonomous functions, will be taken larger and larger part in future warfare. but you know, as I said before, and I think we have talked before on this issue. People are using now AI in order to deceive the AI machines that we are using to protect ourselves. Okay, the same happen. It's like the story of Asimov. The same will happen with those kinetic AI, intelligent, autonomous weapons. People will use certain autonomous AI countermeasures in order to neutralize the other side kinetic weapons. And at the end, we will need people to come back. Unless, of course, those machines will be as good as people, which can happen, by the way, but not in the current future, because until now, we spoke only about the brain. But you have to remember that there are issues here like energy. I mean, our brain consumes very low energy. We don't know to operate those huge intelligent computers without a real source of energy. I mean, sometimes we need a small power station nearby, and the brain and mobility, etc. These areas we are at least 100 years away from achieving the same technology, in a sense, that nature achieved during the few billion years of evolution, and we are far away from it. When you eat 2 fruits and something like this, and your brain is operating for a full day. Try to do it with AI computers in the silicon sense.
Yeah, thank you. District Governor Eric Chack, did you wish to ask a question? You did put one on the chat line. District Governor Eric, are you there? I don't hear him. Olivia, then. Olivia Au, please, your question.
Can you hear?
I think District Governor's, is he back?
Are you back? Sorry, Eric. Are you here?
I'm here.
Yes, would you like to ask your question, please, Eric?
Yes, thanks, Kai. My question is, Professor, thank you very much for your insightful talk. My question is just as the late Stephen Hawking. Do you believe that the AI will surpass a human, and one day we will be conquered by the AI? Yeah.
Well, it relates to my previous answer. In principle, I think we are also intelligent machines. We don't call ourselves artificial because we are produced in a natural way, okay? But we know even to this natural way, we know how to copy today in laboratories. I mean, we know how to do it. So in principle, I don't see any difference in principle. However, in practical life, we are many years before those machines will be as independent as we are in terms of mobility and especially energy. I mean, today, you are not satisfied with your intelligent computer, you can disconnect it from the power, okay? And the reason it needs a power is a different reason. It's because didn't develop the same technologies which enable our brain to work on very low energy. So in principle, one day there will be no difference. In practice, it will take a long time.
Thank you. Olivia Au, and this will have to be the last question, I'm afraid. Olivia?
Yeah, just a minute. Oh, hello, Professor. And just a question of what do you think will be the impact of the using drones through AI in terms of warfare? Do you think it's good for humanity? You know, what has happened to Armenia and Azerbaijan?
I don't know, what do you mean by Azerbaijan?
What happened to the warfare in Armenia and Azerbaijan? They're using drones, is it?
Drones.
Through
Okay.
AI, yeah.
No, it's not AI. Drones they use, they have man in the loop. I mean, some of the missions is done autonomously. Autonomously, I mean the drone is taking off autonomously. It flies to the target autonomously. But the decision what the target is and what should be attacked, still there is a man in the loop. The man is not sitting in the drone; it's sitting somewhere else, and but he sees the picture that the drone is transmitting and choosing the target. But there are already today autonomous weapons like ballistic missiles. Okay, I don't know if you sit in Hong Kong or London, but London some 70 years ago was bombed by 80 years ago already. 80 years ago was bombed by ballistic missiles that were fully autonomous. And there's nothing, only perhaps the numbers and the accuracy are new, but in principle there is nothing new here.
Thank you. President David, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Clive, and thank you very much indeed, Professor Isaac. I will now call upon Anthony Newton, past President Anthony Newton, to give our vote of thanks on behalf of the club. Anthony.
Distinguished Rotarians everywhere, we have been privileged to hear one of the most outstanding and brilliant talks, I will agree, for many, many years. This is an extraordinary man, a remarkable man. His talk also comes at an interesting time when the Jewish holiday of Passover is on, which is concerned with freedom and liberation and asking questions. And my heavens, he's asked us a lot of questions, and we've asked him a lot of questions today. So let me just leave it by saying, asking you to show your appreciation in the usual way, please, to an outstanding man, to a brilliant man. Long may his contribution carry on. Long may his carry on. And wouldn't he be an outstanding Rotarian as well? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. But let me mention that with my private name and your last name, we can do something.
Thank you very much indeed for giving that vote of thanks on our behalf, Anthony. And it just now left me to present you with our Speaker certificate, Professor, which you will be receiving through some cyber process. But who might interfere with it on its way, I don't know. So if it comes with the wrong name, it's not my fault. Thank you so much. And now I need to just announce our next meeting will not be next Monday, and it's a long time since I last said that. It will be on the 12th of April, and it will be given by a speaker from New Zealand on the governance in an age of extraordinary transition by Emeritus Professor Keith Clements. So I look forward to seeing as many of you as can make it back then. So thank you. Now, the final toast of our meeting, of our every meeting, is to Rotary and Peace the world over. So I would ask all Rotarians to join me in the toast, Rotary and Peace the world over. Rotary and Peace
the world over.
Hey, Pete David. Hey, Pete David.
And
hey, can we request all the our guests on the Zoom open the cam so we can take a good picture together?
Hopefully, we'll have pictures taken. We have screenshots throughout the meeting, so hopefully you'll be able to receive those.
Okay.
But could Hiko confirm that?
Yes, I have about 300 shots.
Okay. Thank you.
So you won't get everybody on maybe everybody on the one shot, but we're down now to 44 members from our 65. So I'm afraid we couldn't do that now anyway. But I am going to ask if Clive will keep the session open so that we could have a conversation after the meeting is formally
Yes,
closed.
I should do that.
So thank you,
President David.
Yeah, hi.
So
Yes,
thank you very much for joining us. I do hope we will see you again, and it would be lovely if we could meet in London or physically in Hong Kong. It's 2 years since I was there, and I look forward to rejoining a Rotary meeting on some future occasion. I now close the meeting in our traditional way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.